My name is Earl Whitmore. I'm 78 years old. And I'm recording this because I'm dying. And there's a truth that needs to be told before I'm gone. 6 months ago, the military came to my property. They took something from me. Someone from me. A friend I'd hidden for 35 years. His name was Thomas. And this is his story. Our story. But I need to start at the beginning. The real beginning. I live on the same property where I was born. 200 acres of dense forest in northern Washington, close to the Canadian border. My father bought this land in 1932 for almost nothing because nobody wanted to live somewhere so isolated. The nearest town is 25 miles away on a dirt road. In winter, I sometimes go months without seeing another human being. That's exactly how I wanted it. My wife Margaret died of cancer. We'd been married 23 years. She was 51. Too young. Too sudden. The kind of death that hollows you out and leaves nothing but echoes. Our kids, David and Sarah, they left for the city right after the funeral. Wanted lives I couldn't offer them. Careers, opportunities, things that don't exist in 200 acres of forest. I understood, didn't blame them, but it meant I was alone. Just me, the trees, and the silence. I survived by cutting firewood, selling it to the few people who still lived out here. It wasn't much of a life, but after Margaret died, I didn't need much of a life. I just needed to get through each day without thinking too hard about what I'd lost. October 1987, 2 years after Margaret's death. I was 43 years old, but felt like 60. Working kept me from thinking, so I worked constantly. I was on the northern edge of my property, near a stream that flows down from the mountains. Cutting timber, clearing brush. The kind of mindless physical labor that quiets the noise in your head. That's when I heard it. A sound that cut through the chainsaw's roar even after I'd shut it off. A low moan, almost human, coming from a ravine about 50 yards into the thick brush. I grabbed my rifle. You don't go investigating strange sounds in these woods without protection, and headed toward it. The ravine was steep, covered in fallen branches and thick undergrowth. I had to climb down carefully, using roots and rocks for handholds. At the bottom, partially covered by broken branches, I found something that made my brain refuse to process what my eyes were seeing. At first, I thought it was a bear, but bears don't have hands. Bears don't have faces like that. It was a creature, covered in dark, almost black fur. Had to be 8 feet tall even lying down. Massive shoulders, arms that were too long, reaching almost to where its knees would be. And a face. The face was somewhere between human and animal. Pronounced forehead, deep-set eyes, strong jaw. But the features were wrong for either category. Too human to be ape, too animal to be human. A Sasquatch, a Bigfoot, a creature that science said didn't exist, lying bleeding in a ravine on my property. The creature was badly injured. There was a wound on its abdomen, not from claws or teeth. This was a clean cut, a knife wound. Maybe worse. Someone had done this deliberately. Someone had hurt this being and left it to die. The creature's eyes locked onto mine. Dark brown eyes, intelligent eyes. And in them I saw something I recognized immediately. Pain. Not just physical pain. The deeper kind. The kind of pain I saw in my own mirror every morning since Margaret died. The pain of being alone. Abandoned. Waiting to die. Those eyes weren't looking at me with fear or aggression. They were pleading, asking for help in a language that transcended words. I should have walked away. Should have called someone. Forest Service, police, anyone. Should have done the rational thing. But I looked at that creature bleeding in the ravine, alone and abandoned, and I saw something of myself. Something I understood. Easy, I said, lowering my rifle. I'm going to help you. I don't know if it understood the words, but it understood the tone. The creature's eyes closed briefly. Relief, or maybe resignation. Getting it back to my property took 3 hours. It weighed well over 300 pounds. I wasn't young anymore. Had to rig a makeshift sled from branches and rope, drag it inch by inch through the forest. By the time I reached my woodshed, the largest structure on my property, I was exhausted, and the creature was unconscious. The woodshed was maybe 30 feet by 40 feet. High ceiling, strong walls. I'd built it myself 20 years earlier to store timber and equipment. Now it was about to become something else entirely. I spent that night cleaning the wound. It was deep, infected. Whoever had done this had left the creature to suffer. I'm not a doctor, but I'd treated plenty of injuries on farm animals over the years. Knew how to clean wounds, how to stitch them closed. I used fishing line and a curved needle, worked by lantern light while the creature drifted in and out of consciousness. Every time it woke, those brown eyes would find me, watching, assessing, deciding whether to trust. When I finished, I covered it with old blankets, built up the fire in the wood stove, made sure it stayed warm. Then I sat in the corner with my rifle across my lap. Not because I thought it would attack, but because my hands were shaking and I needed something to hold on to while my mind tried to process the impossible. Sasquatch were real, and I had one bleeding on my woodshed floor. The next few weeks were the strangest of my life. The creature, I started calling it Thomas, though I don't know why, maybe because it reminded me of my older brother who died in Korea. Thomas recovered slowly, and as he recovered, I learned something remarkable. He wasn't an animal, not in any way that mattered. He understood, not just tone and gesture, but words. When I said water, his eyes would go to the bucket. When I said, food, he'd look at the door where I kept supplies. He was learning, adapting, communicating. Within a month, Thomas started responding. Not with words. His vocal structure couldn't form human speech, but with sounds, patterns of grunts and clicks that had structure. Grammar, meaning. We developed a language together, a hybrid of his sounds and my words and gestures we both understood. It was crude, basic, but it worked. I could tell him when I was leaving, when I'd return, what I was bringing, and he could tell me when he was in pain, when he was hungry, when he was afraid. The intelligence in those communications was undeniable. This wasn't a trained animal responding to commands. This was a person having a conversation. Thomas never tried to leave. I tested it once, left the shed door open while I worked nearby. He looked out at the forest, breathed the cold air, then turned around and went back inside. He knew. Somehow he knew that out there wasn't safe, that whoever had hurt him was still out there. That staying hidden was survival. I transformed the woodshed, built false walls of stacked firewood, created hidden passages. From the outside, it looked like a normal storage shed. Inside, it was a sanctuary. Thomas had space to move, a comfortable area to sleep. Even a small opening I'd cut high in the wall, hidden from outside view but giving him a glimpse of the forest he'd come from. We fell into a routine. I'd bring food twice a day. We'd sit together. I'd talk about my day, my memories of Margaret, my regrets about my kids. He'd listen with those intelligent eyes, make soft sounds that somehow conveyed understanding. At night, sometimes, Thomas would vocalize. Not distress calls, something else, almost like singing. Low, resonant sounds that seemed ancient, primordial, like music from before humans existed. I'd sit and listen, feeling like I was witnessing something sacred, something the world wasn't meant to hear. By the end of 1987, I'd accepted my new reality. I was the guardian of an impossible being, a creature that science denied, a person that the world would destroy if it ever knew he existed. The loneliness I'd felt since Margaret died, it was still there, but it had changed. I wasn't alone anymore. I had Thomas, and Thomas had me. Two outcasts, two broken beings, taking care of each other in the only way we knew how. I told no one. My kids visited once that first Christmas after I found Thomas. I sent him into the woods, found a cave about a mile up the mountain, prepared it with supplies and blankets. Thomas hated going there, but he understood the necessity. When David and Sarah left, Thomas came back, and I swear I saw relief in his eyes. We were together again, safe again. That became the pattern. Hide when necessary, protect always, trust no one. It was a heavy secret, a dangerous secret, but it was mine, ours, and I'd carry it for as long as I had to. However long that turned out to be, 35 years, as it turned out. 35 years of hiding, protecting, living a double life. 35 years of companionship with a being that shouldn't exist but did. That became my family when I had none. That gave me purpose when I'd lost all purpose. 35 years until they came and took him away. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There's more to tell. So much more. The years between finding Thomas and losing him. The close calls, the near discoveries, the way we aged together. Two old souls growing older in isolation. The way Thomas saved me as much as I saved him. Maybe more. And the day everything ended. The day the military came. The day I lost my friend, and the world lost something precious it never knew it had. That's the story I need to tell. Before my heart gives out. Before I join Margaret and all the others who've gone before. This is for Thomas. Wherever he is. Whatever they've done to him. This is my confession. My testimony. My last act of protection for the friend I failed to save when it mattered most. The first years with Thomas were the hardest. Not because of him, because of the constant fear of discovery. 1988 through 1990. Every sound outside made my heart race. Every unexpected visitor sent me into panic mode. Every helicopter that passed overhead, and they did pass more often than you'd think, made me wonder if this was it, if they'd found him. Thomas sensed my fear, would make soft, reassuring sounds, like he was comforting me instead of the other way around. Our communication evolved rapidly. By the second year, we had maybe 100 sounds and gestures between us. Basic concepts, emotions, even some abstract ideas. I learned that Thomas understood time. Past, present, future. When I'd gesture that I was leaving but would return tomorrow, he'd settle down. Wait patiently. He grasped the concept. He understood ownership. Mine, yours, ours. The woodshed was ours. The forest outside was complicated. He'd gesture toward it with a mix of longing and fear. Home? I asked once, pointing to the trees. Thomas made a sound. Sad. Then gestured, a sweeping motion that meant gone. Whatever home he'd had, it wasn't there anymore, or wasn't accessible, or he'd been driven away from it. I never learned exactly what happened, but I knew someone had hurt him badly enough that he couldn't or wouldn't return to wherever he'd come from. 1991 brought the first real close call. My neighbor, old Frank Peterson, lived about 3 miles away, came by unannounced. Engine trouble, needed help. I left Thomas locked in the woodshed, went to help Frank, took 2 hours to get his truck running. When I got back, Thomas was agitated, making urgent sounds, pointing toward the shed door. Someone had tried the door while I was gone. Frank's son, probably. Curious, heard something inside, tried to look. The lock held, but it was close. too close. After that, I installed better locks, multiple locks, and told Frank I was storing valuable equipment. Keep people away. Frank understood, respected property rights out here. But it was a warning, one I took seriously. 1992 through 1995 passed in a rhythm, seasons cycling, Thomas and I aging together, our bond deepening. Thomas helped me work. When I was alone on the property, which was most of the time, he'd come out of the shed, carry logs I couldn't lift, reach high branches I couldn't access, do the heavy work that my aging body was starting to refuse. He was careful, would check constantly for sounds, signs of approaching people. At the first hint of anyone nearby, he'd vanish back into the shed. Quick, silent, invisible. He moved through the forest like smoke, 8 feet tall and 300 pounds, but absolutely silent when he wanted to be. It was remarkable, humbling. I was loud and clumsy by comparison, crashing through undergrowth, snapping branches. Thomas would make a sound, gentle mockery, I think, and I'd laugh despite myself. Those were good years, hard years, but good. The government helicopter incident. They were doing some kind of survey, flying grid patterns over the whole region, low enough that I could see faces in the windows. I sent Thomas to the cave. 3 days he stayed up there while the helicopter made pass after pass over my property. I visited him each day, brought food and water, sat with him in the damp darkness while he made unhappy sounds. I know, I'm sorry. Just a few more days. Then you can come home. Home. That's what the woodshed had become. His home. Our home. When the helicopter finally moved on and Thomas returned, he made sounds I'd never heard before. Relief, gratitude, maybe even something like love. He touched my shoulder, gentle despite his strength. And I understood. We were family now. Not by blood, by choice. By years of trust built one day at a time. My kids visited that Christmas. David was 28. Sarah was 25. Both had lives in Seattle. Careers, partners, futures that didn't include visiting their hermit father more than once a year. I didn't blame them. But I also didn't tell them the truth. Couldn't tell them. Some secrets are too dangerous to share. Thomas went to the cave for 5 days, longest he'd been away. When he came back, he was different, quieter, more withdrawn. I worried I'd broken something. That too much time away had damaged our bond. But that night, Thomas did something new. He vocalized those long singing sounds, but different, more complex, more emotional. I sat and listened, and slowly understood. He was singing about loneliness, about being separated, about missing home, meaning the shed, meaning me. I started crying, couldn't help it. I missed you too. I'm sorry. I won't send you away again unless I have to. Thomas touched my face, wiped a tear away with one massive finger. So gentle, so human. We were both alone in the world, both carrying losses we couldn't fully express. But we had each other, and somehow that was enough. 1996 through 2005. The years blurred, together. Both of us getting older. Both of us slowing down. Thomas's fur turned gray at the temples, then along his jaw, then scattered through his chest and back. He moved more carefully, slept more, ate less. I developed arthritis. My back went bad. Couldn't do the heavy work anymore. But Thomas could. He took over the physical labor, cutting wood, hauling supplies, maintaining the property. We'd become dependent on each other. I provided shelter and safety. He provided strength and labor. But more than that, we provided companionship, purpose, reason to keep going when it would have been easier to give up. On clear nights, we'd sit on the back porch, me in my chair, Thomas on the ground beside me, looking up at the stars. He'd make those sounds, those strange songs, and I'd listen, wondering what they meant, what ancient memories they carried, what lost world they described. Sometimes I'd talk, tell him about Margaret, About the kids, about my father who'd bought this land, about the brother Thomas was named after. He'd listen, make soft sounds, touch my hand, like he understood every word even if he couldn't speak them back. Those were the moments I treasured most, the quiet ones, the ones where words didn't matter, where two beings from different species could just exist together, connected, content. 2006 brought more changes. The world was changing, development creeping closer, old neighbors dying or selling out, new people moving in who didn't understand the old ways, the old privacy. I became more paranoid, installed motion sensors around the property, security lights, anything to give warning if someone approached. Thomas spent less time outside. Even at night, it felt too risky. Too many people with night vision cameras. Too many hikers with smartphones ready to document anything unusual. The world was getting smaller. The hiding places fewer. My kids visited less. David had children of his own now. Sarah had moved to California. Once a year became once. Every 2 years. Then less. I didn't mind. Fewer visits meant less risk, less need to send Thomas away, less chance of discovery, but it also meant more isolation, the modern world pulling away, leaving me and Thomas in our bubble of secrecy. I turned 64. Thomas had been with me for 21 years, more than half my adult life, longer than my marriage to Margaret. He was my oldest friend, my only friend, the only being on earth who knew the real me, the full me, the Earl Whitmore who harbored impossible secrets and didn't regret a moment of it. That year, Thomas got sick, some kind of respiratory infection, coughing, fever, weakness. I couldn't take him to a doctor, couldn't call a vet, had to treat him with whatever I had. Antibiotics I'd saved from my own prescriptions, fluids, rest, hope. For 3 days, I thought I'd lose him. Sat by his side constantly, wiping his forehead, giving him water, begging him to hold on. "Don't leave me, please. You're all I have. Don't leave." Thomas's eyes would open. Find me, make a sound. Weak but determined. Still here, not leaving. On the 4th day, the fever broke. Thomas sat up, drank deeply, made hungry sounds. He was going to survive. I hugged him, this massive creature, this impossible friend, wrapped my arms around him and sobbed with relief. Thomas patted my back, awkward, gentle, returning the comfort I'd given him. We were taking care of each other, the way family does, the way it should be. I was 66. Thomas was maybe 50, 60? I'd never known his exact age, but he was old, moving slowly, gray spreading through his fur like frost. We were two old men living in isolation, guarding each other, guarding our secret. The world kept changing. Drones started appearing. Amateur photographers, government surveillance, Google Earth updating its satellite imagery. I became obsessed with covering the property, made sure trees grew dense over the woodshed, covered paths, avoided creating patterns that might show up in aerial photos. Thomas spent more time in the cave now. It was safer, more hidden. I'd improved it over the years, made it almost comfortable, but I hated sending him there, hated the separation. So I'd hike up every day, 2 miles round trip, getting harder for my old knees. But I'd make the trek, bring food, spend time, keep the connection alive. Thomas would make grateful sounds, touch my face, tell me in his way, "Thank you for not abandoning me, for not giving up." "Never," I'd say. "I'll never give up on you. You're family." The years kept passing. 2011, 2012, 2015. Time blurring together. The world outside growing stranger, more connected, more invasive. While Thomas and I grew older, more isolated, more dependent on each other, but also more certain. What we had was real, was valuable, was worth protecting no matter the cost. I'd saved him in 1987. And every day since, he'd been saving me right back. From loneliness, from purposelessness, from the emptiness that consumed me after Margaret died. We were each other's reason for existing, each other's proof that life still had meaning, that connection was still possible. That's what the world would never understand. Thomas wasn't a specimen, wasn't a discovery, wasn't a thing. He was a person. My friend, my family, the being who'd kept me alive for 23 years and counting, and I'd protect him with my last breath. However long that turned out to be. Little did I know. Time was running out. Forces were moving. Technology was advancing. And the secret I'd kept for over 3 decades was about to be ripped away from me. But I'm getting ahead again. There's more to tell. The warning signs I missed. The increasing danger. The final years before everything fell apart. Before they came. Before they took him. Before I lost the only family I had left. I was 72 years old. Thomas had been with me for 29 years. And I started noticing things that scared me. Helicopters. More than usual. Not civilian. Military. Flying patterns over the region. Grid searches. Systematic. Deliberate. Black trucks on the dirt roads. Not lost tourists. Not Forest Service. Unmarked vehicles. Tinted windows. Men in dark clothes who didn't wave when you passed. Questions in town. When I made my monthly supply runs, people would mention it. Government folks asking about unusual activity in the forest. You seen anything strange out your way, Earl? Nothing strange, I'd say. Just trees and wildlife, same as always. But my heart would be pounding. They were looking for something. And I had a terrible feeling I knew what. 2017 through 2019, the activity increased. More flyovers, more trucks. I started keeping a log. Dates, times, locations, trying to find patterns. Thomas spent most of his time in the cave now. It was safer. Underground, shielded, harder to detect from above. But he was old. The cave was cold and damp. It hurt his joints, made his breathing worse. I could see him deteriorating, weakening. Just a little longer, I'd tell him during my daily visits. Just until they move on. Then you can come home. But they didn't move on. They kept searching, kept circling, getting closer. 2020 brought the pandemic. The world shut down. For a few months, everything stopped. No helicopters, no trucks, no questions. It was the most peace we'd had in years. Thomas came back to the woodshed. We spent days together, almost like the old times. 2 old friends grateful for unexpected reprieve. Maybe they've given up, I said one night. Maybe they've moved on to other things. Thomas made a sound, skeptical. He'd been hunted before, by whoever gave him that scar. He knew better than to trust peace. He was right to be skeptical. By late 2021, the activity resumed. Worse than before. Helicopters almost daily. Equipment I didn't recognize. Sensors maybe. Thermal imaging. They were using technology I couldn't counter, couldn't hide from. No amount of tree cover or camouflage would matter if they had infrared. Heat signatures. Ways to see what human eyes couldn't. I was 77. My heart was failing. The doctor told me I had maybe a year, maybe 2 if I was lucky and took it easy. But how could I take it easy? How could I rest when Thomas was in danger? I started writing everything down, recording on old cassette tapes, documenting 34 years of our life together, hiding copies around the property, in sealed metal boxes buried in the woods, in envelopes with my lawyer, in a hollowed-out book at the town library. If they took Thomas, the world needed to know. Needed to understand what they'd destroyed. January 2022. I knew something was wrong. The helicopters came 3 days in a row. Low. Hovering. Right over my property. They'd found something. Some signature, some confirmation. They knew. I told Thomas we needed to run. Leave. Abandon the property. Head deeper into the mountains where they couldn't follow. but Thomas made a sound. Sad, resigned, gestured to himself. To me, two old beings, too old to run, too slow to escape, too weak to survive winter in the deep wilderness. We'd had a good run, 29 years, more than either of us expected. If this was the end, at least we'd face it together. February passed. Quiet, too quiet. The calm before the storm. March 15th, 2022, 5:30 in the morning, still dark. I woke to the sound of engines, multiple engines, heavy vehicles, coming up my road. My heart stopped. This was it. They were here. I ran to the woodshed. Thomas was already awake, alert. He'd heard them too. They're coming. You need to hide. Go to the cave, now. Thomas shook his head, made a sound. No point. If they're here, they know. Hiding won't help. Then we fight. I have guns. Thomas touched my face, gentle, stopping me. Made another sound. Sad. Final. No, you can't win this. Don't die for me. I'm old anyway. What's the point of living if I lose you? Thomas made the sound that meant family. Then touched my chest. His chest. You'll always have me. Here. Memory. They can't take that? I was crying. Ugly, desperate tears. I'm sorry, I tried to keep you safe. I tried... The knock on my door cut me off. Hard, authoritative, military. I went to answer. Thomas stayed in the woodshed, waiting. There was nothing else to do. I opened the door to find 3 unmarked vehicles. At least 20 men in black tactical gear. Rifles, body armor, like they were raiding a terrorist compound, not a 77-year-old man's property. An officer stepped forward. Calm, professional. Cold eyes that had seen things and felt nothing. Earl Whitmore, I'm with the Department of Defense. We have a federal warrant to search your property. Warrant for what? I haven't done anything. Sir, please step aside. You can cooperate or we can make this difficult. Your choice. I want to see the warrant. I want my lawyer. This is a matter of national security. Your cooperation is not optional. They pushed past me. Didn't hurt me. Didn't need to. What could I do? A sick old man against 20 armed soldiers. They knew exactly where to go. Straight to the woodshed. They'd been watching. Planning. They knew the layout. Knew where Thomas was. I tried to follow. Soldiers blocked me, held me back. I could only watch as they surrounded the shed. Don't hurt him, I shouted. He's not dangerous, he's old, he's sick. They didn't listen. Opened the door, weapons raised, moving with tactical precision. Thomas was inside, sitting calmly, not trying to run, not trying to fight, just sitting, waiting, accepting. For a moment, nobody moved. The soldiers seeing him for the first time, this massive creature, this impossible being, real, undeniable. Then their training kicked in. They advanced, surrounding him, weapons pointed, shouting commands he couldn't possibly understand. Thomas looked past them, found me through the crowd of armed men. Our eyes met, and in that moment I saw something that destroyed me. Thomas thought I'd done this, thought I'd betrayed him, led them here. After 35 years of trust, he believed I'd sold him out. Thomas! I screamed. I didn't do this! I swear! I would never! I tried to reach him. Soldiers grabbed me, pulled me back, threw me to the ground, my old bones hitting dirt, pain shooting through my hip. Thomas roared, a sound I'd never heard. Terror and rage and grief all mixed together. He lurched forward, trying to reach me, trying to protect me. The soldiers opened fire, not bullets, tranquilizer darts. 3, 4, 5 darts hitting Thomas's chest and shoulder. No, don't hurt him, please! Thomas staggered, confused, looking at the darts, looking at me, making sounds, questioning sounds. What's happening? Why? I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, Thomas's legs buckled. He fell to his knees, still looking at me, still trying to understand. Then his eyes closed. He collapsed forward, unconscious, gone. The officer who'd knocked on my door came over, pulled me to my feet, almost gentle, which made it worse. Mr. Whitmore, you've harbored an unidentified biological entity for 35 years. That makes this a matter of national security. The specimen will be transferred to a secure facility for study. You will be detained for questioning. Specimen? I was sobbing. Couldn't stop. His name is Thomas. He's not a specimen. He's a person. He's my friend. He's a security risk that should have been reported decades ago. You'll have a chance to explain your actions during the debriefing. They brought out a cage, metal, reinforced, built specifically for this. They'd planned this, knew exactly what they needed. 6 soldiers lifted Thomas's unconscious body, loaded him into the cage, locked it with multiple padlocks, loaded the cage onto a truck. No windows, no markings, anonymous. Thomas never woke, never saw me one last time, never heard me say goodbye. They took him, drove away, just like that. 35 years erased in 30 minutes. I collapsed, couldn't stand anymore. Old heart giving out under the weight of loss and grief and guilt. Thomas, I whispered, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They took me too. Not in a cage, but detained for questioning, for 3 days of interrogation in a windowless room in some facility I was never told the location of. 2 interrogators, a man and a woman, both professional, both emotionless, asking questions for hours. When did you first encounter the entity? Where specifically? Describe its condition, its behavior, its diet, sleep patterns, intelligence level, communication attempts. Any signs of others? Any evidence of a population? I answered everything. What was the point of lying? They had Thomas, they had everything. I was just a data source now, providing information about their specimen. Where is he? I asked. What are you doing to him? That's classified, the woman said. Your cooperation is noted. It will help your case. My case? What case? I took care of an injured creature. I didn't commit a crime. You harbored an undocumented species for 35 years without reporting it. That's multiple federal violations. But if you continue cooperating, we can recommend leniency. The 3rd day, they brought papers, non-disclosure agreements, legal threats. Sign here confirming you never saw anything, never sheltered anything. This entire situation is classified. Speak to anyone and face federal prosecution. What about Thomas? Can I see him? The woman's expression didn't change. There is no Thomas, Mr. Whitmore. That's what you're signing. Confirming that nothing happened, that you're an elderly man who may have experienced some confusion. Loneliness can cause that. It's understandable. I understood then. The official story would be dementia. An old hermit who'd lost his mind. Imagined things. Nothing more. I signed everything. What choice did I have? They released me, drove me back to my property. The woodshed was gone, completely demolished, foundation filled in, ground leveled, like it had never existed. The rest of my property was untouched. But the woodshed, Thomas's home for 35 years, had been erased from existence. I stood where it had been, touched the earth, felt the emptiness. 35 years of life, of friendship, of impossible connection, gone. Thomas, I whispered, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The wind moved through the trees, making sounds that almost sounded like his voice, his songs, his way of saying goodnight. But it was just wind, just memory, just the echo of something precious that had been taken away. And I was alone again, the way I'd been before Thomas. But worse now, because now I knew what I'd lost, what they'd stolen, what the world would never know existed. I went inside. Sat in my chair, stared at nothing. 6 months ago. That's when they took him. And every day since, I've been dying a little more. Heart failing. Body giving up. But before I go, the truth needs to be told. Someone needs to know. Someone needs to fight for Thomas. Because wherever he is, whatever they're doing to him, he's alone. Afraid. Waiting for a friend who isn't coming. And that breaks me more than anything else. The months after they took Thomas were the longest of my life. Longer than the 2 years after Margaret died. Longer than all the lonely winters combined. Because this was different. Margaret died from cancer. Natural causes, unfair, but part of life. Part of the cycle we all face eventually. Thomas was taken, stolen, by people who saw him as a thing, a specimen, a secret to be locked away and studied. June 2022, 3 months after they took him. My doctor told me what I already knew. My heart was failing. 6 months. Maybe a year if I took it easy and reduced stress. Reduce stress? How could I reduce stress knowing Thomas was somewhere in a government facility being treated like a lab rat? My kids wanted me to move. Come stay with David in Seattle. Get better medical care. Hospice when the time came. I refused, violently, angrily. I'll die on my own land. You're not moving me. I'm staying here. David thought I was being stubborn. Typical old man refusing help. He didn't know. Couldn't know. I'd signed papers saying I'd never tell. But the real reason was simple. If Thomas somehow escaped, if he somehow got free, he'd come back here, to the only home he'd known for 35 years. And I needed to be here, waiting for him. I spent hours where the woodshed had been, sitting on the ground, touching the earth, calling his name softly. Thomas, can you hear me? Wherever you are, I'm still here. I'm still waiting. Come home. Please come home. No answer. Never an answer. Just wind and trees and the crushing weight of loss. At night I'd hear sounds. Phantom sounds. Thomas's vocalizations. Those strange songs he'd sing while watching the stars. But it was just memory. Just my mind playing tricks. Giving me what I desperately wanted but could never have again. July 2022. I started my recordings. Old cassette tapes. The kind of technology I understood. Simple, reliable, hard to erase. I recorded everything. From the beginning. Finding Thomas in the ravine in 1987. The wound someone had given him. His recovery. The 35 years together. Every detail I could remember. His intelligence. His emotions. His personality. The way he'd comfort me when I was sad. The way he'd make sounds that were almost laughter when I did something clumsy. The way we'd sit together on the porch. Two old souls who'd found each other. Who'd saved each other. Thomas wasn't an animal, I said into the recorder, voice shaking. He was a person, as much a person as anyone. He had thoughts, feelings, memories. He loved, he grieved, he hoped. And they took him, locked him in a cage, treated him like property, like he was nothing more than a biological curiosity. But he was everything, everything that mattered, and the world needs to know. I made copies, lots of copies, buried them in metal boxes around the property, locations only I knew, sealed against water and time. I wrote letters, to my kids, to newspapers, to everyone I could think of, explaining, confessing, pleading. Most I never sent. Too risky. The non-disclosure agreement. The threats of prosecution. But I kept them, sealed, dated, ready to be found after I was gone, after they couldn't punish me anymore. August 2022. David and Sarah came to visit, both of them together. First time in years. They knew. Somehow they knew I was dying soon. They were kind, patient, trying to convince me to come home with them, get proper care. Dad, you can't stay out here alone. What if you have another heart episode? What if you fall? No one will find you for days. I'm fine here. This is my home, where I belong. Sarah looked around the property, at the missing woodshed. Dad, what happened to the big shed? The one you built when I was a kid? Tore it down. Wood was rotting, wasn't safe anymore. She accepted it. Didn't push. But I saw her exchange a look with David, worried, thinking their father was losing it. Senile old man tearing down buildings for no reason. If only they knew. If only I could tell them. But I'd signed papers, made promises, and even though those promises were extracted under duress, I couldn't risk telling them. Couldn't risk bringing government attention back to my kids. Before they left, I pulled David aside. There are things buried on this property, important things. After I'm gone, don't sell. Don't let developers come in. Keep it as is. Promise me. Dad, you're talking like you're dying tomorrow. Just promise. Okay, I promise. We'll keep it. And if you find things, documents, recordings, believe them, even if they sound crazy. Believe them. David hugged me. Okay, Dad, I will. But I could see in his eyes he thought I was rambling, preparing for death in strange ways. He didn't understand. How could he? How could anyone who hadn't lived it? They left. I watched their car disappear down the dirt road. Knew I'd never see them again. Not alive anyway. September 2022, my last month. I could feel my body shutting down. Heart struggling. Breath short. Energy fading. I made my final recording. The one you're hearing now, or reading, however this reaches you. My name is Earl Whitmore. I'm 78 years old, and in about a week, maybe 2, my heart is going to give out and I'm going to die. Before that happens, there's a truth that needs to be told, a confession that needs to be made. For 35 years, I harbored a Sasquatch, a living, breathing, intelligent being that the world says doesn't exist. His name was Thomas. I named him after my brother who died in the Korean War, because like my brother, Thomas was quiet, dignified, strong in ways that had nothing to do with physical power. Thomas was real as me, as real as you listening to this. In October 1987, I found him wounded in a ravine on my property. Someone had cut him, stabbed him, left him to die. I saved him, took him to my woodshed, spent weeks nursing him back to health. And he stayed for 35 years. Not because I forced him, but because the world outside wasn't safe. Because whoever hurt him was still out there. Because I was his only friend, and he was mine. I paused the recording. Started crying, had to compose myself before continuing. We communicated, not in English, but in a language we built together. Sounds, gestures, understanding that went beyond words. Thomas understood concepts, time, ownership, family, love. He felt everything humans feel. He was just as much a person as anyone, just in a different form. For 35 years, we took care of each other. I protected him from the world. He gave me a reason to live after my wife died, after my kids left, after I had nothing. Thomas was my family, my friend, the most important being in my life. And in March 2022, the military came. They'd been watching. They knew. And they took him. Took him in a cage like an animal, like property, like he was nothing more than a curiosity to be studied. I don't know where he is. Some government, facility, some underground lab. Somewhere he's being poked and prodded and treated like a thing instead of a person. And that knowledge kills me. Every day, every hour. Knowing he's alone, afraid, probably thinking I betrayed him. The worst part? In that last moment, when they surrounded him, I saw it in his eyes. He thought I'd brought them. Thought I'd turned on him after 35 years. I never got to explain. Never got to say goodbye. Never got to tell him I loved him, that he was everything to me. So this is my confession, my testimony, my last act of protection for a friend I couldn't save. Thomas existed. Thomas was real. Thomas mattered. And if there's any justice in this world, someone will hear this. Someone will believe. Someone will fight to find him, to free him, to let him live his last years in peace instead of captivity. I failed to protect him when it mattered most. Maybe you can do what I couldn't. More tears, harder now, knowing this was goodbye, final goodbye. Thomas, if somehow this reaches you, if they let you hear it, if there's any mercy in the people who took you, I'm sorry for everything, for not being stronger, for not hiding you better, for not fighting harder when they came. But I need you to know, you weren't a specimen to me. You were never a thing. You were my friend, my family, my brother. You saved me as much as I saved you. More, probably. You gave me 35 years of purpose, of connection, of love. I hope you're not suffering. I hope they're treating you with at least some dignity. I hope you understand I never betrayed you, never wanted this. And I hope, wherever you are, you can feel this. My gratitude, my love, my eternal friendship. We'll see each other again. Somewhere, somehow. And when we do, I'll have eternity to apologize, to explain, to make it right. Until then, old friend, rest if you can. Fight if you must. Remember you were loved. Are loved. Will always be loved. Your life mattered, Thomas. It mattered to me. And I'll spend my last breaths making sure the world knows you existed. I stopped the recording. Sat in silence, exhausted, empty, ready. September 17th, 2022. Morning. I went to where the woodshed had been, sat on the ground, placed my hands on the earth where Thomas had lived for 3 decades. I'm coming soon, Margaret, I whispered. Been a long time. Sorry I made you wait. And Thomas, wherever you are, I'm sorry. I tried. I really tried. The sun was warm, the wind gentle, the forest peaceful, my chest tightened, heart struggling. This was it. I lay back, looked up at the sky through the tree branches, the same sky Thomas and I had watched together so many nights. Not alone, I whispered. Never really alone. Had you? Had 35 years, more than I deserved. My heart gave one last irregular beat, then stopped. I died where Thomas's home had been, where we'd spent 35 years together, where the best part of my life had happened, and I died believing, hoping, praying that somehow, someday, Thomas would be free, would be vindicated, would be known, not as a specimen, but as a person, a friend, a being who mattered. That's my confession, my truth, my last testimony. Earl Whitmore, 1944-2022. Died protecting a secret the world refused to believe. But you're hearing this now, reading this, so maybe the secret survived. Maybe the truth got out, and maybe, just maybe, someone out there will do what I couldn't. Find Thomas, free Thomas. Let him live whatever time he has left in peace. That's my last hope, my final wish, my prayer as I leave this world. Find Thomas, tell his story, make his life matter. Don't let them win. Don't let his existence be erased. Don't let him die forgotten in some government basement. He was real. He was loved. He deserves better. Please, make sure he gets it.